It was such a long few days of travel. We left home Saturday about 7 a.m. and then went through Yellowstone to Billings. We went to Shields and had lunch with mom and pops. We got there a little early. We flew out of Billings about 5:45 p.m., landed in Denver about 7:45, and then we stayed the night in Denver, which made it a little bit better. Anyhow, we left Denver about 4:45, I think, on Sunday, and we only had an hour layover to get through Atlanta, which is just insane. The airport's huge, but we made it. We left Atlanta about 8:30 at night, and we arrived in Lima about 5:30 a.m. Let me tell you, Lima is not an easy airport. We got our bags and made it through customs. Hashtag new experience. Um, Language barrier was definitely an issue, but we managed. We made it through, and finally we left Lima and made it to Cusco about 9:30 a.m. As this was our first international flight, can I tell you how lamely excited we were for dinner on the flight? So I had read all the stories about how you needed a legitimate taxi and the other ones were dangerous. So there was a misunderstanding with the hotel about the shuttle. They didn't arrange it, whatever. So Clint decides to just take this guy up on his offer who had been bothering us at the airport. Thought we were gonna die. Luckily, we didn't. We made it there. The hotel we stayed at was this great little hotel, little boutique hotel, only 17 rooms and a small restaurant. It was called El Balcon or Balcon, not 100% sure. Um, it was built on old Inca terraces and it still had like that foundation, and it was an old colonial house originally built in 1630. It was really neat. Kind of smelled funny, but the people were so friendly. The restaurant was great. The drinks were great. The food was great. And it was just a really neat experience. Our second day in Cusco, we spent checking out the historic area of Cusco and downtown. And we went to museums and a bunch of the churches. Now, I don't have a lot of pictures because the churches don't allow you to take pictures. I get it. I'm not sure if it's religious or if it's due to the copyright because there's a lot of priceless artwork, but they were really cool. The artwork was neat, the carvings were neat, the gold was neat. I've used that word a lot, haven't I? It was just really interesting. However, we started the day with really good food. I want to talk about these pancakes. I don't even know what they're made of, but they are probably the best pancakes ever. And that purple syrup made out of the corn was so good. Everything at the restaurant at the hotel was just perfect, pretty much always. We went to the chocolate factory and then we went to lunch at a place called Mistra, which was really good. Clint got some chicken curry something, and Ariana got, I think, spinach ravioli. Not real sure. Um, but it was good. And then we got these churros, and they had this dipping sauce. And Clint was so funny. He was like, I think I'm gonna take the dipping sauce home. It's the best part. One of the things they warn you about is the ladies walking around with baby lambs. They kind of shove it in your arms and then say it's a baby llama and then demand money. Well, it happened. One of the churches or museums that we did get to take pictures of was Coricancha. I think that's how you pronounce it. It was a very important Inca temple that was dismantled when the Spaniards conquered the Inca. It was really neat, though. There were actually pieces of the old temple still remaining.
Oh wow. I don't know. Oh wow. I don't know.
So Clint picks this trendy little bar called El Dundee, which is the elf bar, and we walk over there and we walk in and it's loud and he's like, "Is there someplace quiet?" Um, it's a bar. I've got to talk just a little bit about this bar and the drinks. Um, they were delicious, but I'm not sure what it was that Clint ordered, but it came in a little bucket with shaved ice and these cylinders full of sparkly green stuff. It was so good. But it was funny because when she brought it out, she fogged it over. And Clint looked at us and he's like, "Am I going to lose my man card for this?" I didn't get a picture of the second drink, but it came out in one of those things that looked like the thing that the rose from Beauty and the Beast was in, and it was full of smoke. And she took the thing off, and the smoke just billowed out. So when I planned this trip, Clint was like, "Do not plan it all. I don't want to be rash. Don't plan everything out. I just want to enjoy it." So at the end of this day, Clint was like, "So what do you have planned tomorrow?" And I was like, nothing. Shall we book a trip?" So what did we plan? We planned a private ATV tour to Maras, Maras, or Moray. Either way, to the salt mines and the terraces out there. It was so fun. And it started raining on the way back from the terraces. And our poor guide, he wasn't wearing a rain poncho or anything, and he was frozen. We were covered in mud. So our poor taxi driver, who had to drive us up to the salt mines, his car got all muddy too. It was pretty funny. Our tour guide, Floyd, explained to us that the terraces were experimental gardens where they'd experiment on what could grow at different elevations and water amounts and drainage, and that the terraces never flooded even though they all gathered into one. Our next stop was the salt mines or salt terraces of Maras. It's Maras. How you actually pronounce it, I have no clue. Um, this was really neat. So the way they do it is there's actually a salinated, so a salt spring that comes right out of the side of the mountain. And these terraces are pre-Inca. Well, some of them are. And it's owned by about 400 people, two communities, and they run it all and work it all, and nobody outside of those communities is allowed to own a piece of it. And they do the layers, like the first layer is the medicinal, like the Epsom salts. The second layer is pink. I forget what they call it. And the third layer is called salt flour or the white finer flour. And they actually carry these out in 50-kilo bags. They call them socks by hand. The whole thing is worked by hand, no machinery or anything. Days 3 and 4 were our Sacred Valley Machu Picchu tours. We started about 7 a.m. and we're really excited when we found out there were only two other people on our tour. So essentially, we ended up with a basically private tour because there were only five of us. It was pretty nice, pretty quiet. We got to ask all the questions, take our time. We didn't have to wait on anybody. It was nice. Anyhow, our first stop was at this alpaca, llama, condor rescue place where they also make textiles and um, they have a store with llama gear. Uh, they have some sweaters, scarves, hats, beanies, blankets. Yeah, and jewelry and things like that. It was a little gift shop. Most of the money from the gift shop goes to maintaining this place, which educates you on the type of llamas, type of furs, what they're used for. Sorry for the sniffles. I'm getting over a cold. Um, they Did you know llamas are related to camels? They actually call them camels. I had no clue. I know now, but I didn't know then. Um, and different llamas have different types of fur and make different things. We learned about the dyeing process, how it's all natural. They don't use any artificial dyes. Red comes from a parasite. Blue and purple come from corn, things like that. Flowers, and anything that is beige, black, or gray or white is actually natural. It's just the natural color. We learned a little bit about the condors. They're kind of endangered, but not totally. But they're not mass numbers. And they release these juveniles back into the wild once they're older and better suited to survive in the wild. Condors were very important to the Inca. They were the messengers of the heavens. Um, we also learned about burials. When they would bury Inca people, mostly royalty, they would bury them in the fetal position because they wanted them to enter the afterlife the same way they were positioned when they came into the world. It was pretty interesting. Another thing we learned about was, of course, the use of ayahuasca to reach a higher understanding of the heavens and whatnot. Basically, the same thing they use peyote for and things like that. Well, the Incas use ayahuasca. We also learned about head binding. Royalty had their head bound, and elongated because they felt there was more room for intelligence, basically. Our next stop was the Sacred Valley. We stopped at this overlook and looked over the Sacred Valley, and they explained to us why it was called the Sacred Valley, which has to do with how fertile the land is and how it sustained life and things like that. And then we went up to the terraces up there. I'm going to butcher the name. It's Pasac. It's Pisac. And they explained to us some more about the terraces, about how they're filled with multiple layers of stuff, like bottom layer is rock, second layer is gravel or something, third layer is sand, fourth layer is topsoil to help the erosion and stuff. That also goes back to it also being experimental. They experimented with growing different things at different elevations on the hill, different amounts of water. It helped with drainage. It was really intelligent of them to know that. We didn't get to walk around this site like I would have liked to, but we were on a time crunch, we were on a schedule, and we had to get to the train station in time. We probably spent a little too much time at the gift shop. Our next stop was this little statue of a guinea pig. It's pronounced kui. It, it's how you pronounce the thing they eat in Peru, aka guinea pig. And he was explaining to us that if you want to woo a girl, you take her and buy her guinea pig or kui because it's a delicacy. And we had to pick on him because he was totally trying to pick up on a girl at the overlook to the Sacred Valley. It was pretty funny. For lunch, we stopped at a restaurant that you would not expect out there. It was really nice and had a big buffet lunch. It was so good, for the record. I tried guinea pig or kui. It was disgusting, but I did try it. Nobody else? Well, no. I think Ariana tried it. Clint wouldn't try it. He says it's a rodent. After lunch, we went to the town of, and I'm going to butcher this, Ollantaytambo. It's spelled Ollantaytambo, but pronounced Ollantaytambo, something like that. Lord knows I'm not pronouncing it right. Anyhow, this was really cool. It had a lot of stairs. It was another terraced community, and they had stairs and gardens. And we went all the way to the top to the Temple of the Sun. And in the Temple of the Sun, the Inca cross is carved, but it has more than 3 steps. And apparently, the more ayahuasca you partaked in or partook in, the more levels of other planes you could reach. So that one had, I think, 4 steps, 5 steps, something like that. She's trying to put silverware down.
It's making good fight for us. Yeah. Christmas, guys. Back to Christmas. Take a look at the vegetation on the rock. You see one gray vegetation which is holding down. We call here that vegetation lichen or lichen.
Yeah.
Some people call the vegetation the mass, right? But mass for us is different. So we call this.
This was another one of those places with the megaliths and the really cool carved rocks that just kind of fit perfectly together. And some of the rocks were as big as we were, and some were as big as small cars. The Temple of the Sun, like I was saying, is 6 stones, 3 really big ones, and then there's smaller ones in between. And they were explaining to us, or maybe it's 6 really big ones now that I'm looking at the pictures. Anyway, um, our guide was explaining to us that the smaller stones in between were used for retrofitting. So when the stones expanded and shrunk due to the change in temperatures, they didn't fall down. They had room to grow. That's pretty smart. And then they explained to us the houses and things like that. And then across the valley, there's basically granaries, except they were cold storage for food like potatoes. And then in the mountainside, there's what they call the Watcher, which they thought was a messenger that had come and landed and was watching over the valley of Ollantaytambo and taking messages up to the heavens. They even put a crown on him. The little kids in this video would sit at the stairs and they'd let you take pictures. And then they'd be like, monies, monies, un soles, un soles. So they were letting you take your picture, but they wanted you to pay them for it, which happens there. We get to Aguas Calientes around 6:30, and Fabricio takes us to our hotel. Our window faced what looks like it used to be an elevator shaft. But anyway, so we couldn't get the ceiling fan to work, and it was so humid and just icky. And there's a dial on the wall, and I'm messing with it, and it's not working. So finally, Clint reaches up and just spins it, and it worked from then on out. Apparently, they have to be manually started. Um, we went and walked all around the little town. There are no cars, so we walked all around the little town and looking for a place to eat. We were looking for something that had a lot of people in it because that way we knew it was probably good food. We settled on this bar and grill called the Mapacho, something like that. And it was really good. Uh, the alcohol was really good. One of the drinks, it was really funny because Clint ordered a house margarita, and when he got it, he's like, "That is some La Fonda shit right there. If you know, you know." The next day started bright and early. Okay, not so bright, but early. We had to meet Fabricio in the lobby of the hotel at 5:45 a.m. and be at the bus by like 6:15, 6 o'clock, something like that. And then on the bus by 6:30. We made it up to the entrance gates of Machu Picchu at 7. And unfortunately, we only were allowed 2 hours. They do a timed entry and 3 circuits, and only 2 hours each, and only 6,000 people a day. I don't know. Fabricio explained to us that that crack you see is actually from fractures in the earth and natural settling, that the town is in fact sinking or cracking and settling. Um, they do what they can, but there's not much they can do. In some cases, he said that they couldn't even put stones back where they were meant to be because they were too heavy for the current condition of the granite or the rock, and it would cause more sinking and fracturing. So, in some cases, the stones aren't where they belong. Nope, those are not wild llamas. They keep a few up there to maintain the grounds and basically mow the grass. This tree is sort of a memorial tree. When the explorers came in and they started clearing the site, instead of clearing the trees and clearing around the trees, they actually just burnt it all down. So it used to be covered in trees.
Saliamo per favore. Saliamo, saliamo.
This was part of a water system. It was actually like a canal. Water would flow in, and then it had channels and stuff. It would flow through to supply the town and the terraces with water. This was once a house, and it was actually a two-story house. You can see the stairs going up that rock. You can't see the full picture, but this is the Temple of the Condor, and it actually looks like a condor. And then there's the beak, which you'll see in just a second right there. And they would do offerings on this beak, and it's carved so that the blood would flow down the beak and then down into those caves. It would flow from the condor's beak to the underworld.
Right, Incas they worship the sun temple there. It's facing to the east. It used to be one observatory. Incas they calculate.
This is a portion of Machu Picchu that has been discovered but not excavated yet. I mean, they haven't restored it. They said they're not sure if they're going to or if they're going to leave it for future generations to restore. There's actually more down the mountainside that you can't see hidden in the trees. On day 6, Ariana was just done. She was tired, so she stayed home, and Clint and I got the day to ourselves, and we went up to the 12 angled stone, the Inca aqueduct, and Sacsayhuaman, in the San Blas area, and St. Cristobal Church. We kind of got a lot in. Um, the the aqueduct was like their canal system, and they would have water flowing down from the mountains. And that was really neat. It was pretty crowded, so I didn't get a lot of pictures. What you saw is what you got. And then we headed up to the ruins, and you had to walk up the mountainside, upstairs, and we got up to the stairs, and there was a guy there trying to get us to take a horseback tour, and we're like, what the heck? So we hopped in a sketchy car and headed up to the ranch and got on the horses and checked out some other ruins that we wouldn't have seen them had we not taken the horses. Um, and I forget the names of them. I know we saw the Devil's Balcony, we saw the Temple of the Moon, and we saw the Temple of the Monkey. And then he took us back up to Sacsayhuaman, and we walked around there for the rest of the day. It was hot, but it was really cool. Sacsayhuaman was probably my second favorite ruin next to Machu Picchu. Um, the stones, the way they molded them together was insane. You can see in all the pictures that they all just fit perfect. Um, we got to walk around here for quite a while, and there's a lot of places that aren't off limits. And you'll see in a lot of them, there's these little holes in the rocks, and they were used for water. They were part of their water system. Water would flow out, and it would flow into their little drainage systems. And it kept it from flooding. Two, it helped them preserve water and uh, keep the crops watered and things like that. This doorway was huge. It was really, you had to marvel. How did they get the rock up there? How? And of course, there were places where the rocks had fallen or they hadn't gotten them back up yet, but they're still excavating it. They are still actively digging at this site. Speaking of which, it was discovered that there are tunnels that lead from here to Coricancha. Legend has it that's where the Inca hid all their treasure when the conquistadors came, and they are actively excavating those tunnels, and they're doing it the old fashioned way. They just have a bucket and they're sending it down and filling it with sand and bringing it back up. Then they sift it through to make sure there's no artifacts or anything in it. Back to the water, this next picture right here shows where they carved a water tunnel into the rock. Of course, the pipes are new. You hear the thunder? Might be. We stopped and talked to some people that were digging around these rocks, and they told us that they go, I think they said 5 meters down. It's like another, what, 15 feet down, below what you see on the surface. So this next clip, this rock, shows all those little divots. They use those divots to put stone or logs in, and use the logs to push the rocks up. And they use the divots so they could stick the logs in without them slipping out. They're not entirely sure what this arena is. It's either an arena, like a gathering place. It's a giant oval, and they said it could have even been a man-made lake for retaining water, because if you notice, there's no water. But they really don't know. I think it was probably an arena or a marketplace, something where people gathered and maybe even worshiped or held events. The last thing we did in Sacsayhuaman was go to where all the caves are. And I don't know if they're man made caves or not. I know there's a lot of offering niches or like carved out places for offerings. But I don't know if the actual caves, and the caves were linked to the underworld. You know, snakes burrow, snakes were part of the underworld, so the caves were linked to the underworld. Next, we headed over to San Cristobal. We went back down through San Blas and stopped at this great little cafe in a hotel. and got some iced coffee and lemonade, and then headed over to the Church of San Cristobal. This was really cool because we got to go up in the bell tower, and the bell tower was really neat. Like you could see really far. You were allowed to take pictures in here, and it wasn't huge, but it was still pretty cool to get to go in it. And that was it. We called it a day. Our last day was spent just hanging out in town, doing a few more shopping, picking up a few more souvenirs. I've been wanting to find a bracelet, never found it, but I did find a charm for my necklace. Um, there was this parade going on in town, and it lasted forever. We had lunch at the Yucca, it's YKA restaurant. It was recommended, and it was really good. We're gonna talk a second about these ribbons. So these ladies are walking around pinning them on your shirt, and they don't really take no for an answer. They straight up just walk up and pin you. Like if you move, they're gonna stab you. Not really, but so three of those ribbons cost me 15 soles. This was lunch at that restaurant. Ariana got alpaca steak with mashed corn. Clint got soup. I got an alpaca burger. It was really good.
Can you get what they're wearing? Do they go back into church?
I don't know.
They go back into church.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, they're holding a statue. Oh, it's really
Good. What? I think he was getting what? What are they holding?
Jesus. It's Jesus.
Oh, I could use this moment to talk about how good the food was, but we're gonna talk about the pisco, or It's Pisco. It's like 98 proof. And Clint says, I just want a shot of Pisco. I just want to know what it tastes like. So the guy brings it out, and it's not a shot. It is this huge bottle and this huge glass. Now, granted, he just poured it into the very big glass that's like the size of a wine glass. And Clint tasted it, and he's like, this is good. That's smooth. So Ariana's like, I'll taste it. Oh my God. The look on her face was classic. So I said, I'm going to try it. Let me tell you, that shit burns. It burns from the minute it hits your tongue all the way down. It burns. I guess I'll close this with some other funny little things and random weirdness. Um, Toilet paper is kind of a hot commodity there. Like, they sell it on street corners. And our taxi on the way from the hotel to the airport when we were leaving actually bought a roll of toilet paper at a red light at 4:30 in the morning. Was interesting. It's not in the bathrooms, like in the stalls. It's outside of the stalls, and there's like one roll for the whole thing. Kind of weird. And then, what other weird things? You can't flush toilet paper. You have to put it in the waste basket. Thought that was a little weird. Clint said that when he was at the airport, there was some dude just grabbing and rolling up rolls and rolls and rolls of the toilet paper and shoving it in his bag. So I guess it's hard to get there. Um, what else? Oh, the firecrackers. So the first night we were there, Ariana and I woke up to pop, 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 pop. And we're like, what the hell? You know, foreign countries, South America. Oh my God. But it was just firecrackers. Apparently, they celebrate saints with firecrackers. And there is a new saint to be celebrated every night. Or they just feel like it because the fire every night, every single night, usually about midnight, there were firecrackers going off constantly. One of our tour guides, Floyd, who told us he was named after Meriwether Floyd, Floyd Merriweather, sorry, had it backwards. Anyway, he told us that when he was in elementary school, he had to walk hour to school every day. And once he hit high school or secondary education, he had to walk 2 hours each way. There's not schools in all the villages, they're just in the larger outlying areas. It's kind of interesting. Anyhow, that's all I can think of. Sorry it's so long. Hope you enjoy it.